Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have yet another brand new Jurassic World Dominion figure here to take a look at, and we have a lot more to take a look at, but this is the very first of the newer Tyrannosaurs that we have a chance to take a look at, as we have the Thrash and Devour Tyrannosaurus Rex. Definitely looks to be pretty cool, nicer than I expected it to be, honestly. Originally, I was really excited about it because I felt like the paint application looked fantastic on the promotional images, and then when I started seeing some others that people were receiving, I was like, it doesn't look as great as I thought it did because there wasn't quite as much coloration as I thought, but here in hand, it's actually way nicer than I was expecting. Like, the coloration is very appealing, although I will say that there's kind of a gloss coat to the face that I'm not a huge fan of, but outside of the kind of glossy look of the face, I feel like the paint application really does look very nice on this. And of course, we have that fantastic artwork for the Dominion boxes. Quite possibly the nicest it's looked so far would be on this one, because that Rexy head back there on the left-hand side is absolutely huge on this box. As far as the box art goes, though, you can see it's pretty much your standard as far as the Dominion line box art goes. And then if we turn it around and we take a look here at the back of the box, we've got an image of the Tyrannosaurus chowing down on the poor Morose, as well as some more images to the right showing off some of the action features of the figure. And then to the left, we have a small image down there of the Therizinosaurus from the Dominion toy line. So let's go ahead, pop this out of the box, and check it out. And here is our Thrash and Devour Tyrannosaurus Rex out of the packaging. And one thing that I was really wondering is if this is the exact same sculpt as the previous Stomp and Escape Tyrannosaurus. And I just took a quick look here when I first broke this out of the box, and I can definitely say there are very, very strong similarities, but it's not exactly the same. One area that to me looks exactly the same, though, would be the head sculpt. The head sculpt definitely is the same as far as the Stomp and Escape version. The coloration obviously is different, but the head sculpt itself looks to be the same head sculpt. But then there are areas in the body that definitely are different, like the tail is in a different position as far as the way that the turn is. The neck in general looks a little bit different. So there are some differences, some similarities. I don't think the sculpt is completely a reused sculpt. The articulation is also a little bit different as far as, the areas that articulate, of course. In one area straight away, like we don't have the joints in the leg because it's not a Stomp and Escape, and the joints here in the midsection are a little bit different compared to the Stomp and Escape version. We will bring that one in here in a little bit to compare with it, but it really does, again, it looks great right here at first glance. I definitely am a fan of this, and it might be one of the nicest Tyrannosaurs that Mattel has released. I'm not a huge fan of the overly textured look to the head. I will say that the more I was, looking at the Stomp and Escape version, the less I was beginning to like that kind of over-textured look to it, but I feel like I like it even less on this one. But outside of the over-textured look, I feel like it is still a really nice-looking version, especially as far as the paint scheme goes. So let's go ahead, jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Rex, again, you can definitely see, if you are familiar with the Stomp and Escape version, that the head sculpt is the same. And it also has, again, that same, like I had stated, a little bit overly textured look to it compared to what a JP-style Rex looks, like. It just has, I think the scales are just a little bit too large. Like, they just look off to me as far as, what a JP Rex looks like. Now, I'm not saying that's not a nice sculpt, because the head sculpt overall looks really good as far as the, shape of the head compared to what a JP Rex looks like. And although, again, the detailing isn't perfect, it does still look really nice, and it's also very vibrant on the sculpt. But we don't really need to go over the head sculpt very much, especially because we've reviewed it in the Stomp and Escape review. But as far as the coloration goes, which is the only thing really different, we have some really nice dark browns for the face, as well as like a black here that kind of runs around the eye, kind of stripes down, and then runs along the palate, and then up here in the snout. And that's really about it as far as the coloration here on the upper part of the head goes. Once you come up here, you can see that we basically just have the initial brown that we mentioned. I would have preferred that darker black coloration run up here along the top of the head, but it unfortunately does not. It still looks really cool, but it definitely could have looked a little bit nicer. We do have a light coloration here, kind of like a light khaki for the lower jaw. And then we have a yellow for the eye, nice black pupil. The placement of the eye is actually really nice, although I don't know that I've actually seen one of the Tyrannosaurs quite yet with misplaced eyes, so that may be something that we don't really need to worry about, or at least I hope. Once we open the mouth, you can see that the teeth are sculpted, of course, very nicely, but they're painted with a nice yellowish tone. And same deal for the lower jaw, incredibly precise paintwork. You can also see that the inside of the mouth sports an insanely nice, very realistic gloss coat, as well as an insanely beautiful looking sculpted tongue. Like, that is absolutely awesome right there. And you can see how nice that gloss coat looks and shines, giving it a very realistic saliva-like look. And you can also see all the way down there into the throat of our Tyrannosaur. It continues to have that nice coloration through the entire inside of the mouth and throat area, and also sports that beautiful gloss coat, so it really looks very, very realistic in there. As we move back here into the neck, you can continue to see how this black kind of stripes down, like it picks up right here past the top of the head, and then it stripes down, and it sort of runs that same sort of a look through the course of the Tyrannosaur, which is very reminiscent to what, Rexy looked like, especially in Jurassic Park, so I feel like they did a great job of almost really nicely replicating a Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus paint scheme, except for, like the head's not exact as far as the coloration goes, but the striping and the way that this looks is fairly similar. Not exact either, but fairly similar. But you can again see that the texturing and everything looks great here in the neck region. Really nice scale detail, kind of some osteoderms picking up there. You also have the scars that you see up here in the lower jaw, but you could see them here in the neck region. And that's one area that I felt like looked a little different compared to the Stomp and Escape version. The scars kind of look like they're slightly different compared to that version. You can see more really nice detailing here on the underside. Very nice kind of wrinkling and creasing here in the skin as you move down. Nice skin folds there in the neck region. As you move along the Tyrannosaur, again, the skin detail continues to look absolutely beautiful everywhere you look. You have some more scars here in the stomach region. You can also see the arm sculpt. It looks great, very nicely detailed arm with some nice muscle definition. Unfortunately, we don't have nail paint, but we do at least have a gloss coat on the nails, which is something that some other Mattel figures have been missing, and it's nice to see the gloss coat at least on the figure, at least making it look like it has, coloration to the nails. You have some nice articulated areas here in the neck region and the midsection for the Tyrannosaur to, move and use the Thrash and Devour action feature. You can also see that we do have the DNA scan code up here on the top of the Rex, so if I pull that up, there is the scan code for you to add that Rex to your collection. Yet again, kind of an obnoxious area. I can't stand the fact that there's a gap there, but it at least doesn't look so bad. It's just not very good. As we continue to move along the course of the dinosaur, again, the actual fine detail is just phenomenal on the Rex. As you move down here, you can see the detailing here in the leg and the thigh looks great, the really nice muscle definition. But one thing that I immediately noticed in the promotional images that I didn't think was actually on the final product was that I saw some striping down the legs, and I really liked that about the promotional images. And when I had seen a few other people showing off theirs, I didn't notice it on the actual factory produced figure, but I actually do see it here. You can see it right here. There's a stripe, another stripe down here, and some darker coloration running along the front of the thigh. There's even a slight hint of the darker color right there. So, to my surprise, we actually do have a little bit of that striping. It's not quite as vibrant as what we saw in the promo images, but still looks pretty good. And then as you move down, again, that leg sculpt is incredibly nice. Very nice muscle definition the entire way down. Gorgeous foot sculpt. Look at those scoots down the toes. That is absolutely fantastic as far as what a Jurassic Park style Tyrannosaurus foot sculpt looks like. We do have painted nails, which is a huge plus, and they are painted with a really nice dark gray bordering on a black, and they also sport a beautiful gloss coat, but unfortunately we don't have painted dew claws because we just never do. As you move up here into the tail, again, you can see that this skin texture is really nicely done. Like, there is just insane amounts of detail to this Rex when it comes to the skin texture. But one downside is that the dark black ends right here at the tail. Now, that's one area that I feel like if we would have continued that dark black, it probably would have been the nicest painted Mattel figure as far as a Tyrannosaurus goes that we've had to date. But since they stopped the black there, it really affects the overall appeal factor, because then, of course, the second half of the figure here, well, not really the second half, but from the tail back, it looks unpainted. And I don't notice any of like the speckling or anything that would be really obvious sort of slight additions to the paint application. That is just not here at all. You can see, though, that there is a nice curve to the tail. It curves this way to its left, whereas the Stomp and Escape, curves to the right, which is another difference between those two figures. But sculpting and detailing wise, that is gorgeous looking. And then we do also have some alternate coloration here. As we said, we had that kind of light brown for the lower jaw, and that runs here along the entire underside almost until we get to the groin region right here. And as usual, it tapers off and disappears. I really wish we would continue this on the underside just to give it a little bit more paintwork. It's really not that much, and it could make a huge difference, but of course and unfortunately, we do not get that. As far as the opposing side of the Rex, it looks pretty much just like it did on the first side. The eye paint is very nicely placed, all of the same style of coloration with the blacks and the browns meshing very nicely, really smooth transitions back and forth between those colors. And you continue to again have that striping running down the course of the Rex. You see more of those scars here running up into the neck region. And again, the same deal for this side as what we saw on the previous slide. Like, the detailing is not going to be all that different. I don't really notice any drastic differences. It is nice to see like a little hint of that darker black right there. Again, just adding some extra color to the figure. And then we can again see the black running down the front of the thigh, kind of striping in, which I really, really like that aspect of this figure. But as far as the sculpt goes, again, everything on this side looks fantastic. Again, not perfect to a JP Rex because I just feel like it's over-textured, but still really quite nice. And the only thing really I feel like is wrong with it is the fact that we have the black paint cutting off. Again, if it ran out onto the tail, it really would have looked a lot better. Same deal with the coloration on the underside. Could have made just a huge, huge difference as far as the paint job goes, but it's still a really nice Rex and definitely one of the nicest painted versions that we've had so far. As far as articulation on our Rex goes, we again have the articulated jaw. Once you open the articulated jaw, the upper jaw also articulates with it. Again, part of the action features, so you can see how nice and smooth that head and neck articulation and jaw articulation is. Really realistic looking, I think. And you, of course, again have the articulation here, as well as the midsection, all part of the action feature. You have the articulation of the arms, forward and back. You also have articulation in the legs. For some reason, they moved together, which was a little unexpected. I didn't realize that they were going... I thought they moved independently. I didn't think they did that together. You do also have articulation in the ankles, which is something that Mattel doesn't always do nowadays. And then articulation in the tail, all of which, again, kind of ties into the action feature. First of all, we've got a button up here to chomp the Rex. Well, chomp the jaws. Beautiful Rexy noises to go with a really nice and very smooth action feature. And then, of course, you can move the Rex all over by using the tail, and you can turn the body. As you can hear, we have that thrashing action sound to go with the action feature. So that action feature, the sound, everything is absolutely awesome. And then we have the ability to chomp down and eat dinosaurs or humans. In this case, we're going to eat Alan Grant. And you can shove him all the way in the mouth. And now poor Alan is gone. So as far as a playability standpoint goes, this is an excellent figure. One that kids are going to absolutely love. But even one as far as adult collectors go, we too will definitely love this figure because I think it's a great Tyrannosaurus, great sculpt, great paint, very nice, very large size. Alan's stuck in there, and a really nice action feature to go with some awesome sound effects. As far as a size goes for the Rex, and we're knocking over the backdrop back there, but for a size, you were looking at lengthwise, move him up a little bit, about 21.5 inches or 54.5 centimeters. And then height-wise, the highest point is definitely the head. You are looking at about 8.5 inches or around the 21.5 centimeter area. For a size comparison, we already had a little bit of a size comparison with Alan Grant in here, but there is Mr. Papa Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Tyrannosaurus Rex. And this definitely should give you a very good idea of the fact that it is an extremely sizable Rex, easily one of the largest that Mattel has produced so far. For another comparison, we've got ourselves a Kenner Young Rex who looks like he fits in perfectly at home with this Tyrannosaurus as far as being the offspring of this Rex. We've also got a Hasbro Jurassic World Ceratosaurus. I thought he was going to fall over. Ceratosaurus, and again, maybe not the most popular figure of all time, but I'm sure one that many people have in their collection. We've also got ourselves a Jurassic World Dilophosaurus right here in comparison to the Tyrannosaurus Rex. An adult Bumpy, who is kind of standing up a little bit too tall there. Again, very large Tyrannosaurus. We also have a Takara Tomy figure with the Stegosaurus, and you can really see a hilariously large difference in size there between those ones. We also have the new Extreme Damage Velociraptor, to show you an idea as far as a comparison with the Raptors, one dinosaur that does actually interact with the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. For one other comparison, we have the Thrash and Devour Indominus Rex next to the Thrash and Devour Tyrannosaurus Rex, and you can definitely see the Indominus is a bit larger. It's longer, it's just taller, it has overall more body mass. It would have been nice to see the two face to face, but I just don't have enough room here as far as all these other figures that I have around it. But again, the figures look awesome together, but the Indominus is definitely a little bit larger than our Rex. And then for another comparison, we have the Stomp and Escape Tyrannosaurus next to the Thrash and Devour version. And although we, again, are not going to have a great shot at both here because one's in the box over here, one is not. And you can see, for instance, as far as the scars on the neck right there, they look slightly different compared to this one. Like, the scars on the neck of this one are more heading in an upward position. The scars are kind of heading back and up here on the newer version. You can just definitely see difference as far as like the areas of articulation in the neck and body right there. Of course, there's knee articulation in the older one. There is not knee articulation in the newer one. And then we have the tails here that are also, again, facing in different directions. So there's quite a bit of difference as far as the positioning of the body in different areas of articulation and even in the scars. So I would say some areas of the new Rex are definitely different compared to the older one. Some areas are probably the same. So this brand new Jurassic World Dominion Thrash and Devour Tyrannosaurus Rex from Mattel is definitely another nice Rex. And when I had actually seen it in store, yes, I found a Dominion figure in store, I was really psyched about it. This is actually the second figure now. I actually found the Velociraptor beta figure last night, the Rowdy Roars version. So this is actually my second Dominion figure that I found in a Walmart. So starting to find some stuff finally in my area, but again, I was really blown away when I had seen it in store with just how nice the actual paint application looks in person, because I wasn't really expecting all that much. I almost at one point in time considered not even picking it up because I didn't think it looked all that great when I had started to see images of other people receiving theirs, but once I saw it in person in the store, I definitely knew I wanted it, and it's a really nice paint job for the figure. Of course, there is always room for improvement. Definitely a lot of room for this one as far as improvement goes, because we needed some paint on the nails of the hands, some dew claw paint, the coloration on the underside to run the length of the tail, and the black coloration on the top to run the length of the tail. And if that would have happened, I feel like the Rex would have been stellar, like really, really nice. Even the stripes on the leg could have went a little further. That probably would have helped a little bit more as far as appeal factor goes. But overall, I still think it's fantastic. It would have looked amazing with that extra paintwork, but even what we have here, it definitely looks nice. The tones of color are very appealing looking. All of the transitions between colors looks great. And overall, the sculpt and paint of the Rex is definitely very, very nicely done. The only real downside I have as far as the sculpt goes is the fact that some of the proportions are quite a bit off, like the feet are too big, the tail's a bit too short, but I think the worst area of that would be the head. The head is just really big for some reason on this one compared to the way it should be. It's not a huge deal, but it is definitely something that's noticeable here in hand. We also have the action feature, which I think is great. Similar action feature to what we had on the Indominus not long ago. I feel like it works just as beautifully on this Rex as it did with the Indominus, and definitely overall is a really smooth and very appealing action feature for this type of dinosaur. And then, of course, the sound effects are fantastic. Perfect Rexy sound effects. And again, the entire thing is just one heck of a beautiful Tyrannosaurus from Mattel. Again, always room for improvement, but still a beautiful figure. So if you are interested in this, make sure you check your local Walmart, as that's where I found mine. Make sure you pick it up if you do in fact find it. And also make sure you like, comment, and subscribe before you do. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.